Welcome to Invested Souls, the podcast where real estate expertise meets relationship growth.
And we're your hosts, the Flanagans. I'm Brad.
And I'm Jamie. This podcast is your chance to learn from our experiences and follow in our footsteps. Whether you're an entrepreneur, investor, or real estate professional, we've got the insights and strategies to help you elevate your wealth and achieve financial freedom.
But it's not just all about real estate. We believe that thriving in life means nurturing the relationships that matter most.
That's right. We'll be talking about how to balance your personal and professional life so you can create a fulfilling and prosperous future.
So join us on Invested Souls and let's grow together in wealth, relationships, and success.
Ready to elevate your life? Let's get started. Welcome to Invested Souls. Welcome back to Invested Souls. I'm Jamie Flanagan.
And I'm Brad.
Today we have Griff and Dayna Zolninger. They are both full-time residential real estate agents and have been since 2004. Since their first year in real estate, they have been multi-million-dollar producers. Griff has a background in financial planning, and Dayna has 5 years of experience as a custom home builder and home designer. San Antonio natives, they know the city well, and they can help guide you and your family to the area that best suits your needs. Whether you're buying or selling a home, they will put their area and industry expertise to work for you. Welcome.
Hi.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Well, we're very appreciative. So you guys have over 20 years in the industry?
Yeah.
Dayna started a year before I did. I kind of joined her in 2005, but 20 years total.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We had the opportunity to do some offline conversation. So I just want to recap and bring some of those questions into today's interview. I tend to help a lot of newer agents that are learning to build their business, and most of them are married, and most of our listeners are married couples and doing business together. And there are some struggles that come along with doing business, specifically real estate, because there's a lot of emotion that can be pulled in, as well as the financial piece of supporting our families. So I just wanted to start there and get a little bit about your feedback on how it's been to work together as a couple in real estate for the last, however long you said since 2005, so 19 years together.
Well, yeah. So I think there's a real advantage for us anyway to be a husband and wife team. I can see we were talking earlier about the one spouse is in real estate and the other one's not, and they get frustrated with the time, and you go to dinner and they're on the phone all the time. We understand that because that's what we both do. But I think it's worked well for us, both being in the business. I think it honestly would have been harder to watch her in the business, and then when if I would have had a regular job the rest of the time. So I can see some of those potential frustrations. And when we first started, the company she was with had a monthly desk fee of $150 a month, and she did really, really well her first year, almost hit rookie of the year, but she had a very slow start. And for the first 5 months, didn't get a paycheck. And every month I'm writing a check for $150 a month. And I'm like, hey, honey, your new job stinks. We're writing them checks,
Yep.
But she ended up having a great year.
Yeah.
So were you in a career field that would give you some stability at that time, or how did that work out?
In theory, I was a financial advisor, but at that point in my career, it was pretty much 100% commission.
Okay.
So every job I've ever had has really been pretty much like an independent contractor. When we first got married, I had a landscaping company, then I became a financial advisor, but because it was 100% commission, you technically were a W-2 employee, but you only ate what you killed.
Right.
It's a lot like real estate, which probably made it an easy transition into real estate. I think one of the challenges that a lot of people have is you don't get a regular paycheck in this business. You can, and we do because our business is good, but there's no guarantees of a regular paycheck, which can add to the stresses.
Yeah, we're accountable for our actions and the activities of the day-to-day to ensure that level of stability at least. And it's neat because I feel like I've kind of followed that similar path where it comes from financial advisor planning, maybe mindset. And I definitely could tell that you're analytical. I love seeing some of your content had to do with numbers, and you got into the details. I was like, this guy's a numbers guy. But I leaned into real estate a lot more and found I could have a bigger impact on the household or the family. And that's what I love about, again, being a couple in real estate. We have the ability to have a bigger impact on a family, on a household, even especially in the average or area median income type household, not the ones who already have the finances to do whatever it is they want to do. Did that appeal to you? I would assume if you were in the field of making an impact on people's lives financially, was that at all something in your mind when you decided, hey, I'm going to move more into the real estate side?
Well, the decision was made for me. The company I went through had a huge restructuring, and they showed me in about 40% of the office the door on the same day. I knew
Mhm.
it was coming, and I had already actually started taking my real estate classes because I talked to my manager at the office and said, "Hey, my wife's busy. I'm going to help her on the weekends. It'll give me opportunity to meet more people and do more business." So I was pretty much done with my classes. So it was kind of one of those deals where I always said I'm not smart enough to follow God's leading. He has to drive me from one thing to the other, but he always drives me in the right direction. So it wasn't really any more than, hey, what's the next step? What do we got to do? But being able to help people financially with their houses, and trust me, my clients have made far more money in houses than they did back in the stock market days.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, it's been great.
That's fantastic. Yeah,
That's
especially when
funny.
you can look back on 20 years worth of effort and relationships and see the impact that you've had.
You had a brief financial advisor role, and that's what you said. It's like, I see returns in real estate that I have a hard time selling something that's when I know there's something over here that I should be able to present, and you're conflicted, you
Yeah.
know?
You can make almost a bigger impact.
Yeah. The next thing I was going to ask you guys too is over the last, so you guys worked through the crash, 2008 crash.
Yes.
I'm curious how that has impacted your business as far as like when somebody, because it still comes up, like there's going to be a crash again. And curious how that has impacted maybe how you structure like educating your clients around when they're making a big financial decision and they're feeling uncomfortable.
You know, I feel like that's a constant thing in our business is that as the real estate professional, keeping my eye on what's going on in the market, whether it's, the crash or just a normal real estate year. It's like I have to know what's going on right then. So yeah, I just look at the statistics, keep my eye on the market, and then just advise accordingly. Yeah, I mean, just trying to, I always tell everybody, I'm putting myself in your shoes. I want you to make a good investment. I wouldn't sell you anything that I wouldn't buy myself. And I've told people that said, I think this is it. And I'm like, no, it's not. This one's not going to work. And I'm going to tell you why. So we did go through the crash, but that year was a normal year for us. We just keep plugging along, doing what we do, which to be honest is just taking care of people. So we have a lot of repeat clients and sphere of influence. But yeah, being in the ups and downs, to be honest, really the market usually doesn't really affect us. And it's not that we are like the top producers in the city, but we've made a good living and it's been consistent and we're thankful for that.
And
And we're
go ahead.
fortunate here in San Antonio and the Bernie area where we live now. Our market never really crashes. I mean, the highs are never really high and the lows are never really low. In other parts of the country, you got 30, 40, 50% swings in price and stuff like that never happens. This last crazy market on the high, things got a little out of control, but even then they haven't come crashing down. And the only client that I can say that ever lost any money bought a brand new house in 2006. He was military, and then he left in 2008 or 9 or whatever, and he was still competing against the builder. So he bought at the peak in 2006, and he sold with the builder building cheaper houses in the neighborhood and giving everything away. And so he took a beating on the house. Had he just rented it for a few years, he wouldn't have lost anything.
Right.
Kind of back to the stock market days, the beautiful thing about real estate is you usually not pricing it every 2 seconds, right?
Exactly. Right.
You don't worry about the price of the house today. It's like, I'm not going to sell for a few years. I hope the price doesn't go up because my taxes go up,
Right.
So the crash, usually clients aren't that worried about that here. And because you can show them that things just kind of plug along. They're pretty steady here for the most part.
Absolutely.
That's like Omaha. Neither of us are from Omaha originally. I came from Minneapolis and he's Chicago. And so those markets were definitely affected more. And then when we actually moved to Omaha, like during the whole crash. And It was interesting because this market just wasn't, it was it was protected. It was still really inexpensive. Like you could buy a
Yeah.
house for like
Yeah. Well,
$75,000.
Yeah, 09 for me was a better year than probably the few years prior. Granted, I had just started. Sounds like I'm a similar time frame as you. About April of 2005, I first became exposed to it in the origination or in the real estate capacity. Worked in the title industry even in high school. So it's something about this central part of the country that is a little more insulated compared to especially the coasts.
Yeah.
With that, you've likely, as we have experienced the cycles, and then there's the good years and things are easier, and then there's maybe the tighter years with the business being somewhat unpredictable. The emotions can follow with it. Like, how do you have any strategies, or over the years, have you ever looked back and said, we overcome some challenges together and that makes us stronger for it? Or loved some insights on a couple that's been in real estate for 2 decades and how the personal strategies are employed to keep things strengthened.
Go ahead. You want to talk about the emotions? Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, pretty crazy, but I feel like you asked that question so pointedly, I can't leave this out though. So we're people of faith, we're Christians, and we pray together. And that's how we have survived 41 years of marriage,
Wow.
20 years in real estate. Yeah, you just pray a lot, trust in the Lord, and just know. So last fall, I was diagnosed with cancer and I had ovarian cancer, endometrial cancer anyway, and had to have a hysterectomy. And then that was followed by 25 rounds of radiation.
Oh my gosh.
From October through January, I was either having surgery, recovering, or doing radiation. And we didn't have we've never had this long of a stretch, but we didn't have one deal closed in all those months. And I couldn't work anyway. And it was nice to have him home to be able to be with me and do what we needed to do. But I just kept praying. It was like, the Lord was just like, you're going to be fine. And obviously we have savings, so it's not like we weren't able to eat, right? But it was just the idea of like, are we ever going to have anything again? But anyway, I just knew the Lord would take care of us. And sure enough, I mean, by February, the phone was ringing and our spring was phenomenal. You know, I don't really know what to tell you. It's not like we have any way to pull ourselves out of the slumps or to get through that other than prayer, and God's just provided for us. So I know this isn't a Christian podcast, but
No, I was actually hoping you
Christians
would go
on
there.
here,
Yeah.
it really is. That's just how we live our life, just trusting in the Lord. So
Well, the other aspect of that is I handle all the finances and just don't tell her stuff. So, or when I do, that's when we have emotional, and it's usually me, the one having an emotional breakdown. But I lost track of what I was going to say about that. Oh, we also had, you get to where you learn to live on an annual basis. You know, our years always work out to be good. And we've rarely well, it's not that often that we'd have a month without a closing. We almost never had a month with 2 months in a row without a closing, but this 4 month stretch or whatever. And then of course we had some really good closings that came right after that and kind of made up for everything. But our years almost always turn out basically the same. So you have to treat it like a business. And I guess my biggest advice to any agent out there is, you were talking about numbers earlier. It's like, know your numbers and treat this like a business. I think the reason most agents fail is they think it's going to be a job and they don't spend any money or effort or whatever. They're just sitting around waiting for the phone to ring. Now, when you've been doing it long enough, that's what we do now, which is great to
Right.
have a business where your phone rings and you go sell a house. But then when you have that 4 month stretch where the phone doesn't ring, you're sitting there scratching your head like, well, now what,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we were fortunate to be at our previous company and made a fortune in stock because we got there at the right time when they were giving it out like candy because it wasn't worth anything. And then it
Yep.
went on a huge run and we made a fortune. The company we're with now, we joined that for the same reason, because we feel like we're going to repeat the opportunity here because they're at the point where it's not publicly traded yet, but they're handing out stock like candy for
Yeah.
doing stuff you're going to do anywhere else. And, you know, I spent a lot of my time talking to agents, trying to recruit them to our company. And I'm fascinated at how many agents are not open-minded to switching. And it's like, well, you can go to, there's half a dozen companies out there now, mostly cloud-based, that give you stock ownership in the company.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go to one of the brick and mortar companies and be their top agent for the next 20 years and walk out the door and you're not going to own anything
Right.
that you didn't build on your own anyway, which you can do at the other companies. Or you can come here, maybe it'll never be worth anything, but it might. That was my,
Right. The risk is worth it.
yeah. And I've been with my financial advisor background. When I saw the stock at the last company, I wasn't the slightest bit excited about it because it was technically a penny stock. And every one of my clients, when I was a financial advisor, had a worthless penny stock in their account because their brother's cousin said, "Oh my gosh, you got to buy this thing, load the boat." And then it would go from $3 to nothing. And so, but I'm like, yeah, they're handing it to me. I'll take it. That'd be
Right.
my best advice. If somebody offers you stock for free, take it.
Yeah.
There you go.
You'd agree, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, and gosh, so much to unpack there, especially from the faith-based side of it. And I always talk about having a compelling future. If you're praying together, your vision is then aligned. And as long as the vision is aligned and the communication is there, and then you compound that with identifying your strengths and I don't want to say staying in your lane, but I do want to say staying in your lane. Like, I know which things I'm not going to cross over into. Even if she asks for my opinion on furniture, I'm like, I like what you like. Because
How
that's
much
your
is it?
specialty. Yeah, thank you. The numbers, yeah, the cost I want to know about, but the color I can't really speak on because I'm colorblind. So
Well, you know, on that thought of staying in your lane, so we started flipping houses about the time we switched companies in about 8 years ago. And
nice.
it was really more driven by her desire to do it. And I'm like, all right, you know, let's do it. And for the most part, it's worked. But obviously she does with her builder background and she's really good at design and stuff. So she tells us what needs to be done. And in fact, I used to joke with one of the contractors, a friend of ours. You remember those bracelets, the WWJD, you know, what
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
to do? Yeah. And I'd go in there and tell them they'd be debating about what should be done. I said, it's WWDD. What would Dayna just do it like that, you know? Anyway, but
I love
letting
it.
her use her strengths in doing that, and we've gotten more enjoyment, or I have mixed emotions about it, but she's gotten a lot more enjoyment out of doing the flips than you get tired of, not so much tired of selling houses, but tired of chasing the next deal.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just another opportunity for us to invest and do something differently that's worked pretty well.
When you create your own inventory, right? Do you treat it like that on the sales side?
You know, we only do one at a time. It's not like we've done, I guess the most we've done in a year is 3. So yeah, we don't really look at it from that perspective. It's really just about the gain on that
Mhm.
particular sale, like the after repair value versus what you
Right.
bought before.
Yeah.
Not so much just having inventory, but
What would you say was your hardest flip, or what was
the
the
one
best
we
story
got,
when it comes to flips?
It's always the one you're currently working on.
well,
Then you're like, I'm
This
never doing
one-
this again.
yeah, this one we have right now, yeah, it's been the most difficult. It was in the worst shape. We bought it right before our market really just went to a standstill. And anyway, lots of different factors, but the one we're working on right now, it's been difficult. And just to give you the perspective, we've owned it for 1.5 years.
Yeah.
You
Oh my
ever want to
gosh.
own your
Oh
flip
my
house for
gosh.
1.5 years? Yeah.
And
But
there's a lot of reasons behind there. It's
yeah,
an
there's
historic district and
the
there's,
story, but
the-
yeah.
Oh,
But thankfully on that one, we paid for it with cash, so we don't have any hard money lenders or any, so it hasn't cost us a lot, but yeah, we need to get that one sold.
yeah.
There you go.
is it done?
If anybody wants to be a flipper, the only thing you need to know is you make your money when you buy the house. If you buy it right, everything else is fine. If you pay too much for it, you'll never make a dime. And we've
Right.
done both. You know,
We have 2.
we've yet to lose money on it. But there was two of them we did back to back early on, was like a break even. I mean,
But
think-
we're learning.
I think we made
Yeah.
$2,000 on one and lost $1,500 on the next one, and we closed them both about the same time. It's like, okay, that was a lot of exercise for $500, but
You know,
it
it's
was
tuition, right?
valuable. It was valuable knowledge.
That
Yep.
was the
We,
beginning, so.
Yep. It's like we have one that we flipped. It was a break even, but we got a lot of referrals out of it. So it's like the faith.
Awesome.
It's like, okay, there was a lesson in this and I was meant to learn it. And now how do I apply that to future? So you actually learn from your lessons. Something we evaluated recently, you know, everyone wants to flip houses. And then when you start to get into the weeds, it's like, okay, well, was the time that you put in actually worth, depending on what you're going to make out of it? Because we do flips and it's like, I get to put a coming soon sign in the yard. So I'm getting buyer leads. Like there's a lot of extra stuff that we've leveraged as part of the flip opportunities. And I just think you want to be able to maximize those opportunities. Or if you're going to flip in, like you said, it's like I'm pulling away from my real estate to do this flip. So I have to make sure that the time commitment makes sense for what it would normally be in business. But we also, as real estate agents, I think we get bored. It's like we're entrepreneurial and we're like, all right, I need a project.
That was part of it. And one of the extra benefits that the companies that are handing out stock, a lot of times the stock's based on volume. And so that those extra sales, we bought it, we sold it and did that 2 or 3 times in the same year. That added 4, 5, 6 sales to the volume to get you to the next stock award. So it was just one more benefit to doing it.
that's so true.
It is. Yeah. So if you're listening to this and you're at one of the cloud-based brokerages, that is one of the tricks is buying your own properties to be able to count toward your production when there's a production requirement to hit certain metrics and gain that stock. Absolutely.
And it's additional qualification to your audience, right? So if I run into somebody who is a flipper, I can associate with them or relate with them on a different level than maybe the other agent who hasn't done it, or the other lender who hasn't participated as a real estate investor. And so we can form a little bit of a better alliance and have a better opportunity of actually engaging in a business relationship.
Yeah. I'll finish out this conversation with, I'd love to hear what your guys' favorite book is and why.
Yeah.
We could even do a business one and a personal one, because I know you guys probably read some good Christian books and you probably read some good business books.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I don't know if I have a favorite book, but the one I just read, which is still sitting on my desk, is God Does His Best Work with Empty. So it's a Christian book, but that's kind of all I read. He's the numbers guy. He's the business guy. I don't read business books. So sorry. That's all I have is personal books that I read.
Yeah. And growing up dyslexic, you don't tend to read a lot for fun. So I don't read a ton, but I will tell you a book that you could actually read really fast that everybody should read to get the basics of just finance could work really well in real estate or any aspect of your life is The Richest Man in Babylon.
I've never read that. No.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a really small book, and it was basically some guy wrote different pamphlets for a bank back in the day with little different stories, and they put it together, and it's told in the story of this really rich guy from Babylon, and he's dealing with, and he's got the broke baker, and the other guy's a butcher, and he makes more money, but they're both broke, and he just breaks it down and just teaches you really simple, mostly biblical principles about managing money and saving and who to invest with and why, and it's entertaining to read, and you can literally sit down and read it in an hour or 2. It's very, so The Richest
That's
Man.
awesome.
And it's a really old book. I mean, it's before when I was a kid that came out.
The best books I feel like are all.
It's interesting to me, and I pointed out a lot when I look at like publication dates, and I'm like, how is this still relevant 100 years later?
Yeah.
And that's one of the blessings that this type of a market brings to us is the opportunity to slow down and actually go do something personal development wise instead of transaction to transaction to haste and rushing into everything. So these markets help create the stability, help create the development that make us better in those good times. But thank you for that. And I want to know now, what would you pick?
What would
Is
be
it
my
captivating or?
Yeah, my favorite Christian book was Captivating. Have you guys read that?
No.
No.
Who
So
wrote
there's
it?
a men's book called Wild at Heart.
Oh, that, yeah,
Have you
that
read
was a
that?
good one. Yeah.
He
And
read
then
that, yeah.
Captivating is the
Complimentary
complimentary.
female version of it. Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to.
It's
you love
beautiful.
that. Okay, I'll have to get that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a good pick.
Yes.
And I'm working on the Bible because I know I watched a couple of things where it said the Bible is actually the best business book there is. So
Oh, there's a lot of truth to that too. There's a lot of, in fact, Barnum and Bailey, the circus guy, studied Exodus to see how to move people around, just the
Yeah.
logistics of the whole thing. And he got a lot of his ideas on how he ran his business from that.
so true. Oh my gosh.
That's amazing. That's so amazing.
It is. It is. So yeah, we go back to our roots, go to the history, and we'll find lots of insights.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on today. And is there any final insights that you want to share with the audience? Anything? And how do people find you online? Or if they wanted to get a hold of you, they want to come buy a house in your area, where would they go?
Well, if you can spell our name right and you Google us, we'll be the only Zollingers you find.
You'll be in the podcast, so you guys can click on the
website is greatsarealestate.com. So that's contact information, but yeah.
Awesome. Greatsarealestate.com.
And we're in the San Antonio and the Bernie area. Bernie's just a suburb of San Antonio. It's its own separate little town, but they're connected now. Back in the day, it was like, you're moving out to Bernie, that's way out there. Well, now it's basically San Antonio. And I guess the last piece of advice I would give to realtors especially is, we kind of hit on earlier, know your numbers. When I talk to agents all over the country, and I'm amazed at how many of them can't tell you their compensation model. So you're trying to compare, I would say, hey, I got a better deal for you, let me explain it, but they don't know theirs in order to know, well, what's your split? Well, I think it's 70-30. Was there a franchise fee? Oh yeah, that's
right.
I tell them, I said, that's another 6%.
Yep.
What about your E&O? And then when you add it all up, but it's amazing. And I had this one particular conversation, and I said to her, I said, well, when you get your check, how do you know it's right? When the title company gives you your check, she said, I don't know, just always assume it is. We're at our 4th company now. The first 3 companies I have been at, all 3 of them made a mistake on my check. And I knew it immediately because I knew exactly how much it's supposed to be.
Right.
And it's because people are human. In the accounting department, humans. Now, the company we're at now, I haven't been here long enough for them to make a mistake, but I'm sure they will. And when they do, I'll know immediately because I know how much I'm supposed to get. And agents just have no clue how to do the math on their checks. I used to speak weekly at a lunch and learn, and I would start ranting about this, and I'd ask the audience, and they're all looking at me like, I'm not going to answer that question. Because half the ones at my company couldn't even do the math on their own check. Anyway.
I think I know, not to go on a tangent here, but it's almost, I think there's a strategy there with some of the brokers. It's like
the more complex.
Complex, and people don't question. It's too much work to figure it out.
Yeah.
So I 100% agree. No, Brad made me a really awesome spreadsheet. Like, I've been using that spreadsheet forever now. I feel like it was recent, but it's 5 years ago now. But it plugs in your numbers perfectly. And it's like, I know how my cost per transaction, and it's really easy to know where if we're having, I noticed recently, I was like, my numbers aren't working. Well, I was taking a ton of referral business from outside, and I wasn't accounting for that 25-30% referral fee. And I was like, in transparency, like, hey, there's something wrong here. The numbers aren't working and I'm really short. But it's like, I'm not calculating. And I had taken 3 large high-end referrals, which is normally like 3 houses. A $750,000 house in Nebraska is at 200. When we normally sell 250 to 300.
Right.
It's like, gosh, I took 3 referrals at that price point. It was actually like 9 sales on a referral basis.
Yeah.
Based on my spreadsheet, but you need to know your numbers. And I love the 12-week year because I don't know if you guys have read that book, but it's like analyzing your business every quarter instead of on an annual basis. And then you catch stuff sooner that's in your calendar, that's in your numbers, everything. So
got line item it out. Yeah. To your point, they don't actually look at it like a business. And that's the other part is I don't think the consumer is actually given enough information to know, especially the trying time that you went through for 3-4 months. Well, more than that, but where it was intense for that period of time, it's taken for granted. And if they understood, I don't think that the next sit down you had, they'd be squabbling over 0.5% when they knew how much value and how much effort and how much sacrifice goes into each one of those transactions. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that, and we take all the upfront risk, right? You know,
Right.
the marketing cost and the showing you 50 houses and you may never buy, but you know, I still got to go through the process. I mean,
Mhm. Yeah, 100%. Well, appreciate you guys coming on today.
yes, congratulations on the 20 years and even more so the 41. So
Thanks.
love that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And we look forward to connecting with you and staying connected.
Great,
Same
thank
here.
you.
All right, appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to Invested Souls.
We hope you found our insights valuable and feel inspired to elevate your real estate and relationship goals.
If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. Your feedback means a lot to us.
Follow us on social media for more tips and updates, or visit bradandjamieflanagan.com. And to find out more about our Real Estate Wealth Accelerator, don't hesitate to reach out.
Until next time, keep investing in your future and nurturing your relationships. Thanks for listening to Invested Souls.